Hello everyone, and a very good evening to you. Welcome to the first official qualifying race of the Ferrari Hublot Esports Series. This is so incredibly exciting. This is Ferrari's first official esports series. We are live for this opening knockout race at a track that is steeped in history and heritage. It is the beautiful and challenging Spa-Francorchamps. I'm Nikki Shields, motorsport presenter and pit lane reporter, and I am very honoured to be sharing this virtual stage with none other than Paul Jeffrey. He's an experienced sim racing professional who you may know from previous esports adventures and of course his time at racedepartment.com. Paul, we're in safe hands with you, aren't we?
Hello, Nikki. Thank you. Good evening. Good evening, Nikki. Good evening, everybody at home. Sincere pleasure to be here for the very first Ferrari Esports Hublot Series. As Nikki said, my name's Paul Jeffrey, Editor-in-Chief, racedepartment.com, and a man who's been around the sim racing scene in many different adventures over the years. But enough about me. What about this championship? This is the first official Hublot Ferrari Esports Series. This is an opportunity for drivers throughout the world to come together, challenge each other for an opportunity, an incredible opportunity at that, to be part of the Ferrari Driver Academy Esports Series team, alongside such amazing names: David Tinitza, reigning Formula One Esports champion, Enzo Benito, representing the Prancing Horse. Nikki, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, isn't it?
It is indeed. I mean, it's so exciting that could be you if you're watching, if you're going to compete over the next couple of weeks. I mean, what an honour, what a privilege it would be to race for, well, the most prestigious team in motorsport. This is, as you say, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. It's a money-can't-buy experience to wear the badge of the Prancing Horse. Now, if you do want to participate, it is super easy. All you have to do is go to www.ferrariesportseries.gg, register yourself there. Then you're going to receive all the details that you need to get involved, and you will also get exclusive access to the brand new Ferrari 488 Challenge Evo car that's been specially designed for use within the series by the original creators of Assetto Corsa. Super exciting. Now, just to explain, the series is composed of three main parts. We've got the AM Qualifiers, which is taking place today over the rest of the month in September. Then we've got the AM and Pro Series in October, and then the grand finals in November. So exciting.
Yep. The AM qualifiers will consist of 4 hot lap sessions beginning at 9:30 a.m. on Monday and running throughout each day of the week until closing at 6 p.m. on the Thursday before race day. At the end of every weekly hot lap session, the fastest 24 drivers are called to compete in a broadcasted knockout race, where only the top 6 finishers will advance to the AM Series in October. You can join every weekly session and try and reach that top 24. There's no limit to how many attempts you make to set a time. The only limiting factor is the amount of patience needed to keep fighting for that all-important top finish. Once you are qualified for the AM Series, you will join a 4-round championship in parallel with 24 pro players invited by Ferrari, as both the pro and the AM categories will be broadcast across the various social channels of this powerful and historic motorsport organisation. At the end of the 4 rounds, the best 12 drivers for each series will compete in a 2-day grand final event in November. The question that everyone will be asking, not least of course the drivers themselves, who will be crowned the inaugural Hublot Esports Ferrari champion?
It is a very good question, Paul, but by the end of the next few months, we will have the answer to that. And actually, by the time we get to the end of today's programme, of course, we'll know the 6 drivers who are going through to the AM Series. Very exciting stuff. Now, as we saw earlier, some of the tracks that are going to be selected for this competition are some of the most beautiful and challenging racetracks in the world. The driver, it's not just about speed, it's not about just being the fastest, you need to be the smartest. You need to be able to master the aspects of the car to be competitive and win this championship. And as you said, Paul, you need to put in the hours, the practice. That is going to really pay off. Also, there's a lot at stake here. These drivers need to be able to control their emotions and, of course, the pressure that is going to build over the course of the series, because there are various stages and there is a huge prize. They need to be able to conquer a very talented field of rivals, all vying for that prize. So Ferrari are looking for a future champion to start to carry the emblem of the famous prancing horse into battle in some of the toughest esports competitions in the world. So if you think you're up for the challenge and you haven't registered yet, I don't know what you're doing watching me. Go straight to www.ferrariesportseries.gg. Get yourself in the competition. You've got nothing to lose, so much to play for. This is, of course, that once in a lifetime opportunity, which could be the start of something rather beautiful, a career in virtual motorsport, which might lead to so many wonderful things. Now, shall we have a little look at today's knockout race with the first 24 qualified drivers from this week's Hot Lap sessions?
So we've got 24 drivers, as Nikki says, and a range of different nationalities. We've got Germany, Italy, Poland, the United Kingdom represented in this field. There are names on here that you'll recognise from many other different high-level esports series. And we've got names that are brand new to our viewership. This is a championship that's open to absolutely anybody. So the level of talent that we're going to see, there's so many new variables. I cannot wait to see how our drivers get on in what is going to be a very exciting opening race.
An exciting opening race because, of course, we're racing in Spa, a rather challenging track. Let's take a look at the lap overview and what these drivers have to do to conquer it.
Let's look at some of the key corners of this Spa-Francorchamps circuit in more detail. La Source, good overtaking opportunity, avoid danger in the opening laps. Up Eau Rouge into Radion, fast and brave, an important corner to get a good run down the Kemmel Straight, a flat out section of track where overtaking and slipstreaming is entirely possible. Into Le Combe, a very technical piece of racetrack. Driver will have to balance the car and avoid making a mistake, especially here in Bruxelles, an off-camber corner, happy to spit the car into the scenery should you make a mistake. Down through Pour, 4th gear, flat out, the car finally balanced between speed and mistakes. Campus, another incredibly quick, another incredibly delicate piece of the racetrack for the run through Stavelot, 3rd gear on corner entry, 4th on corner exit, foot flat to the floor through Blanchimont, one of the most challenging and bravery reducing corners of the circuit, into the bus stop chicane, hard on the brakes, great overtaking opportunity, easy to lose or win time at that corner.
Oh, what an epic track. I love Spa, but I mean, it's long, it's technical. There are so many opportunities for these drivers to make mistakes. It's not going to be an easy one, is it?
To be fair, Nicky, in a 488 Challenge Evo at Spa-Francorchamps, it's about as straightforward as juggling water. It's going to be an incredibly difficult challenge for these guys and girls first time out.
Oh God, I can't wait to see the drama unfold. It's going to be awesome. But for now, let's take a look at the qualifying results for our first batch of 24 willing hopefuls before we head over to the start of the very first race of the Ferrari Hublot Esports Series.
Yep, so qualification has been completed. We're just about to head into the very first race of the series. And as you can see on your screen, every driver has managed to get out there, set a time. We've got some pockets of close competition. Cannot wait to see how single lap pace is one thing, race distance pace is entirely different. I want to see if these qualifying times convert to a race result at the end of this event.
Right, we are now ready to hit the track and let the action commence. Let's go racing.
The red lights are on the gantry. 24 cars are ready to participate in this opening round of the Ferrari Hublot Esports Series. A clean start from all concerned, heading down into the first corner. Lassource, the rear of the field, fans out. Everybody looking for a little bit of real estate in which to place their Ferrari 488 Challenge Evo. An incredibly clean start from the entire field. Our pole position man retains the lead on the run up to Eau Rouge for the very first time. One by one through the twisting, incredibly fast piece of racetrack, a little bit wide over the top of Radion for the gold number 4 Ferrari in your shot now. We're coming down through the most incredibly fast part of the racetrack, down the Camel Straight, looking for the slipstream. Nicky Shields heading into Le Con.
Yeah, absolutely. And we saw the guys in qualifying, the top 10 drivers, I think, were in the first within 1 second of each other. So it's going to be really tight. So much to play for here. These guys, we need to get through into the top 6 to make sure they go through to the series.
And that's incredibly important to remember for the folks watching at home. It is the top 6 that matters in this championship. We've already seen the original race leader running a little bit wide through Le Con, which is the first significant braking zone of the racetrack. He's managed to recover back onto the circuit again, but that has put him down the running order. That is Gianfranco Giglioli, the car that we are looking at this moment in time, in 4th position. Now we're riding on board with Michael Romagali in 2nd position. Nicky, a driver, the tension's built. The pressure has brought itself to a 4. They've watched for the green lights to strike. They have set off. They've started to compete against each other. And at this moment in time, the adrenaline's flowing. How do you keep yourself calm in this kind of environment?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's exactly the way that you distinguish yourself from your competitors. If you can, not crack under pressure and maintain cool, calm in the driving seat, then it's definitely going to be an advantage for you. But it is really hard, particularly when so much is at stake. As the lights go green, it's a stressful environment, that's for sure, particularly on a track like this. It's very technical, it's long, there are lots of opportunities to make mistakes, so really they've got to keep their eye on the ball the whole time.
They have, and as you say, the circuit's a very long one, and also the car. It's the Ferrari 488 Challenge Evo. It's the same car for everybody. There are no differences in technical specification across the field. Everybody's got the same piece of hardware underneath them. They can make changes to the car setup. They can tweak it to perform in a way that they want it to do, so the car behaves as they ask it to behave on the racetrack. But fundamentally, you've got the same thing as your rival. There is no pit stops in this race. There's no real strategy to be employed as we're driving up Eau Rouge now. At this point, you're looking at the sky, the car's bouncing over the curves, you're trying to get a slipstream, and by slipstream, you get behind the car in front, allow it to make a hole in the air, to suck your car underneath and behind and give you extra straight line speed. So this is all down to driver skill, and these two here have got to fight for 2nd position. So this is Romagali and Blager are fighting for the 2nd step of the podium, and they've only got 30 minutes to resolve this race. That's an incredible ask. 30 minutes where dreams can be made or can be shattered.
I know, you couldn't have said it better myself. There's so much on this one race alone, and you mentioned there it really is about outright pace in this particular race, but of course the way you can outcompete your competitors is by practice. These drivers have put in the hours. They have to, if they want to compete at a level like this, if they want to race with the prancing horse on their sleeve, then they're going to need to put in the practice and the hours. It's a real dedication if you want to compete at the top level in esports. And it's been amazing to see how the esports industry has just grown over the last few years, but particularly during in lockdown, it's been the opportunity for racing to continue. It's been about the only sport that we've all been allowed to watch, which has just been wonderful to see. So I think there's even more competition out there. So it's going to be a tough one, that's for sure.
Yeah, and it's incredible, isn't it, to see Ferrari have adopted the esport mentality. It's arguably the greatest brand in automotive and motorsport, and to see an official championship run by Ferrari for drivers to become part of that Ferrari family, to become part of the Ferrari Driver Academy, to get a place within the esport team alongside world champions. That is something that just shows how far sim racing and esport has come in the last few weeks, months and years, and all these drivers know this is not just another competition. This is arguably the biggest opportunity of their lives to become part of the Prancing Horse, part of the Ferrari family, going to Maranello, getting involved in the training camps, working alongside the established stars and coaches. It's not just give you a contract, turn up and do a race. It's been part of the whole process. We're riding on board now with Blaža. He's got a slipstream coming down the Camel Straight. He's outside Nicky Lecombe. This is going to be a difficult place to have the car. It's under pressure. It's off the racing line. They've got a both spot. Their braking points. Be very, very careful not to turn into the car on the inside. Last of the late breakers. And actually, if managing around the outside of Lecombe, that's a phenomenal overtaking manoeuvre.
Wow, brilliant manoeuvre there. Yeah, so Dominik Blaža, he's a Polish driver, 20 years old, and he's actually said, we had a bit of a chat before the race, and he was like, it's all about hard work. That's what you've got to do. Hard work pays off, and I think it is his dream. I mean, he says he is, his sort of main occupation is a sim racer. So it's incredible, isn't it, to see that this is now an occupation. But having said that, he might be a sim racer, but a lot of the other drivers that are involved in this series are not. We've got a complete range we've got a lawyer from Russia who's competing today. We've got students. We've actually got a financial advisor, a 47-year-old financial advisor, Daniel Facciolo from Italy. I mean, how cool is that to be competing now in the Ferrari Esports Series? He's actually doing all right at the moment, 19th at the moment. It'd be interesting to see how he does. But at the moment, let's look at the top six, because that is really the priority for this race.
Yeah, it is. I just say the top six are the prizes. That's who go through to the four-race series itself. At the moment, our pole position starter, our race leader, our man into the first corner first and out up to Eau Rouge first, he's still in the lead by 2.8 seconds. That's an impressive gap in the first 8 minutes or so of competition. Blaža, who instead just seen on screen there, making the overtaking manoeuvre, currently 16 seconds. We're looking forward at his car from the sister Ferrari, a Roman Goli in third position. Gianfranco Giglioli maintains fourth off the start-finish straight. It's a little bit of a gap starting to spread between the cars, maybe half a second or so, as everybody's just settling down in this place. We've got next 4 seconds away from the race lead at this moment in after 8 with the car ahead at this moment in time. And Di Alcamo in sixth place is the last current drivers who may get through to the AM Series. But as we've said before, and as Nicky pretty rightly pointed out, the top six are placed in the matter. They've still got 22 minutes left to go in this race. Still absolutely anything to happen from overtaking. The drivers might be more pace, down to making the simplest simple mistakes, which is, at Spa-Francorchamps, incredibly easy to do, very, very costly should you get it wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, he's doing incredibly well, pulling away there at the start for the lead of the race, Jarmo Koch. Now, he's a 19-year-old German driver. Well, I say driver, he's actually a tiler, a professional tiler. I mean, what a life-changing opportunity that would be to join the Ferrari family. He says he's just a normal person. There's nothing interesting about him, but all he wants to do is be a professional racing driver. So, it's just this opportunity here where you can change your whole life in a game today. So we're excited to see how he gets on.
And I think that is really interesting to sort of mention to those maybe you're new to eSport racing, maybe you're new to motorsport. If you are and you're watching at home, thank you very much for joining us and welcome to you. This is the point that I really would like to stress about this series and what we're doing here with the Ferrari Hublot Esports Series. Anybody can enter this. The people that you're watching on track are who we've classified as the AM category. These drivers aren't professional eSport racers. They don't race for teams. They don't get employed by a brand or a manufacturer or a team. They're just you or I. There are people, as Nicky said, we've got plumbers, we've got electricians, students, we've got tilers, we've got lawyers. These are just people that have put some time in, they've got some natural speed, they've entered the qualification program at the beginning of this for a week before the race for 5 days, Monday to Thursday. You can set a lap time. If your lap time is in the top 24, you're invited to come and take part in this race. Anybody can do that. Boy, girl, man, woman. Anybody from any area of Europe, any age zone, of any background, social, economic background, of any employment status, can get involved in this. And as Nicky said, if you get in this top 6, you get into the AM Championship, and you do well in the AM Championship, you've got a door that's been open to you that is open to nobody. You can't buy this door. You are welcomed in to the Ferrari family, to the Ferrari Driver Academy Esport team. It's not just participating in a race, it's being part of the massive, historic Ferrari picture, being at Maranello, getting involved with the facilities, the staff, the training, the opportunities, the access. Basically, it's an invitation to perform at the highest level and change your life. Become an esport driver, to get paid to do what you love. And Nicky, I don't know about you, but that's something I would take with both hands and more if I was one of these drivers on track today.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, as you say, to be paid to do what you love, that is everyone's dream, isn't it? Then you never have to work another day in your life. But, you know, you're saying there is so much to play for here, and anyone can get involved. And I think that's what the beauty of sim racing is, you know. Okay, perhaps to get into motor racing, you do need to have quite deep pockets or to have a sponsor involved to be able to get that track time in a go-kart from a young age. But actually, with sim racing, you can cut your teeth. You don't need to spend a lot of money to get a little, you know, a rig set up at home. So really anybody can get involved. And then of course there is this opportunity to potentially, you know, from what you've learned in the sim environment, then jump into a real car. And obviously we've seen that happening over the past few years. We've seen racing drivers be discovered in the esports world, and then they jump into a real racing car and they perform at the top of their game. So it's really interesting to see, particularly again, as we mentioned, you know, we've been in this lockdown stage. I think there's been more focus on esports than ever before. So the amount of growth and the amount of talent coming out of it is very special at the moment. Definitely something cool to be part of. And making history again here today with Ferrari's first esports series.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Making history. It's a beautiful experience to be a part of, and the level of quality simulations has gotten to the stage now where the correlation to how the real world car behaves is getting closer and closer. So this is not just a game. What these drivers are experiencing, this 488 Challenge Evo was being designed and developed in conjunction with Ferrari by the people that made this simulation. It is as close as you're going to get to driving this real car without physically getting in the cockpit itself. As we're seeing an overtaking move now into the con, very straightforward move on the brakes, got the slipstream that we spoke about at the top of the show. By slipstream, I mean, for those of you that are new to motorsport and esport racing, is where you get behind the car in front punches a hole. It's the first one through the air. That then brings your car, so your car starts to bring itself closer to the rear of it. It's sucked through that gap. It's giving it more straight line speed. Incredibly important in a venue like Spa-Francorchamps, where 85% of the lap is spent at full throttle. That gives you more straight line speed. That allows you to get alongside the car in front. And then it's a case, who's the bravest on the brakes? Who's the last one to apply the stop pedal and get up the inside and ahead of your rival? So a very nice, clean overtaking manoeuvre there we saw from Bendetti. And just going back to the race, we've not really spoken much about it, 'cause this early stage of the race, a lot of the drivers are finding their feet because of the nature of this competition. It's a qualification series. They're not invitees at this stage in the championship. Many of the guys and girls that we're seeing on track today have probably never raced each other before. And unlike in the real world, where you can walk around the paddock, you can talk to people, you can see a little bit of people's history, or stand trackside and watch the racing, they don't know who they can trust, who they can go side by side with and be given space, who cracks under pressure, who manages to soak the pressure up Iceman-like on the track. This is all brand new for them, so they're feeling each other out in these early stages of the race. I've said it many a time, and I'm sure Nicky as well, you said the same thing. You can very, very easily lose a race on an overtaking manoeuvre, but very rarely win one. So they don't want to make a mistake, especially if you're in and around that sixth place position. You don't want to throw it up the inside and be caught unawares that the driver is somebody that cracks under pressure, runs wide and takes you both off into the barrier. So tentative times out on the circuit, and we're just about in 5 seconds to hit the halfway mark of this opening round of the Ferrari Hublot Esports Series.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the competition actually between, I think we've got 5th, 6th and 7th, all literally within about a second and a half of each other. So as we get closer to the checkered flag, there is going to be, I'm sure it's going to get a little bit more feisty out there, because obviously you do not want to be finishing this race in 7th and just missing out on the chance to go through to the series. So I'm sure they're being very sort of gentlemanly at the moment, but the elbows are going to be coming out very soon, I'm sure. But it's nice to see that so far it's been a good, clean race, and everyone's, playing as they should, which we don't always see, do we?
You're right. That is actually something that very much does need highlighting to everybody. Very clean, very professional, very smooth and smart and intelligent racing that we've seen so far. It's incredibly easy. I've done it myself. I've raced competitively in sim racing and slightly less competitively in the real world in the past. And when you're waiting for the race to start, you build it up in your mind. You get a little bit, there's too much adrenaline going. You see half an opportunity on the opening 3 or 4 laps. You just put the nose in on the inside of somebody, or a half measure overtaking manoeuvre, and that throws everything away right at the very, very beginning. But what we're seeing here is the drivers are being strategic. We're riding on board with Gianfranco Giglioli now. Gianfranco's somebody I know personally quite well. I've been involved in many different series that Gianfranco drives in. Incredibly brave. He's a young man. He's done a lot of sim racing. Very, very brave. But also, it seems, rather unlucky in some of the events. And normally I commentate to curse him by making mention and then something bad happens. I hope I've not done it this time. But Gianfranco started to get a little bit feisty in this.
He's closing the gap, isn't he?
Yeah, that P3, he fancies that rostrum, that step, and he only needs the top 6. But as a racing driver, you want the podium, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, you've got so much experience, Paul, doing sim racing. What do you think makes a good sim racer? What are the qualities that we're going to be looking for over the course of this series?
To be honest, I think it's very much like the same as what makes a good racer in the real world. You need commitment, you need dedication, you need experience, actually, which is very difficult to find until you start doing these races, but you need the willingness to learn from your mistakes, except when you've done something wrong, analyze it, review it, put a mitigation in place to not make that mistake again. Every mistake you make will make you a stronger person and a stronger driver at the end. And most importantly, the biggest difference between real and virtual worlds, in sim racing, we're not paying for tyres, we're not paying for fuel, we're not hiring a circuit out. So you need to do lap after lap after lap. You need to understand the car, how the car, for those of you, again, apologise if this is something you already know, but for those of you at home, will understand the simulations are done to such a degree now that the car and the track will develop over the duration of the race. The car balance will change. You may set it up to be fast, high tyre pressures, fast at the start of the race, but as your tyres wear down, your fuel load reduces, the stresses and strains and the wear on the car, the balance will change, the handling will change, the performance will change, it will behave in different ways. The track temperature may change, which will bring maybe oversteer, maybe understeer into it. You need to learn all these things and what you want and when you need it, and how to manage the car through this period. So Gianfranco, who we're speaking about now, who's on screen in the yellow Ferrari that you see here, Gianfranco has built himself and his car up, and now it's getting into party time. The final 10 minutes of the race, he's thinking, yes, I'm having a piece of this. He's pushing and he wants that overtaking manoeuvre. So it's an incredibly detailed world. It is not just turn up and drive. There's so much, Nikki, so much involved in it.
Yeah, I'd love to know how Michael Romagnoli is feeling at the moment. I'm sure he's got the pressure of Giglioli breathing down his neck, but really interesting. So Michael, as you were saying, actually, of course, that to be a good sim racer, you need dedication and discipline. And actually, he was saying that he is a restaurateur. He's worked in kitchens for many, many years, and it's where he learned a lot of discipline. And he understands that you have to make sacrifices to obtain great satisfaction, which I thought was really interesting, because of course that's exactly what you need to perform well in the sim racing world. So he's obviously taken skills from working in a restaurant and using them here today in the race, and now is fighting for a podium position, which is brilliant.
That's fantastic to hear, actually, and that's a good lesson for life as well. Learn from everything you do, every success, every failure, everything that you do in a day-to-day basis in a professional or personal or sporting situation all goes towards a tapestry of making you the person that you are, and learning from mistakes is incredibly important. Now, somebody who's hoping to learn nothing from a mistake because they don't want to make one was DeMalco, that we saw there in sixth position, on the bubble for qualification under significant pressures. We see a car off the road. I'm not quite sure who that was, but we did see a car off the road at Le Con, recovering now, not managed to get involved with anybody else. But DeMalco, who we were speaking about, sixth place at the moment, separated by basically a paint scheme from the car ahead. So this is big pressure. Pesh in fifth position is on the defensive, but DeMalco's in that terribly hard place now. If he puts an overtaking manoeuvre on that's not 100% successful, or if he continues to fight, he's going to bring Pinheiro behind in seventh into this equation, and that then puts him in very big danger of, instead of progressing to fifth, dropping to seventh and having to come back another day and do another challenge to get that qualification.
Yeah, that is very tough. And actually, just a little reminder, if you are sitting at home thinking, hang on a minute, these drivers are good, but I am better, then make sure you get involved as well, because anyone can play, as Paul mentioned earlier. All you have to do is go to www.ferrarieesportseries.gg, register yourself there and get stuck in. The qualifiers will start up again on Monday, so you can compete and get through to the AM series that will start in October. And actually, just a little reminder of how the competition works. It's sort of composed of three main parts. You're watching today at the moment. This is a race for the qualifiers, which will take place all through September. Then in October, we go through to the AM and Pro Series. The Pro Series will also be 24 drivers invited by Ferrari to come and compete. And then we have the grand finals in November, where 12 of the amateurs will compete against 12 of the pros. And I cannot wait to see that final list of 24 names in the grand final. It's going to be very exciting indeed.
Yeah, it's an incredible series. And the beauty of the series for me personally is it's racing throughout. So we're not just doing qualification sessions online where you're setting the time. Racecraft, race intelligence, actually competing against your rivals is a critical element for getting further through this series. And of course, everybody who registers gets access to this car that you're looking at now, the Ferrari 488 Challenge Evo, for free. In Assetto Corsa, a Ferrari, an officially licensed Ferrari, designed by the physics gurus at Cuno Simulazione, for free. So I mean, that alone is well worth it. It's a beautiful car. I've driven it myself quite a bit now and thoroughly enjoying it. But one man that's really enjoying it now is Marco. Now he's in sixth position. We talked about him earlier. He was under a little bit of pressure from Pinheiro behind, but it seems like Leonardo DeMalco has got the pace off the car ahead. But what does he do? There's only 6.5 minutes just over left to run in this race, and he's in a qualifying spot. Do you go for it? Do you hold tight? Oh, Nikki, this is something I would not want to have to choose what to do.
Exactly, especially as you say, you've only got 6 minutes left to go. Decisions what to do, but you've just got to stay cool, calm, don't crack under pressure, and keep the pace going. I think what's been really nice to see is that all the drivers have clearly kind of settled into that. They've really built the momentum, lap after lap after lap, keeping those times up, keeping the consistency going, and that again is going to be key here. But we are getting down to crunch time, so someone between Del Carmo and Pinheiro, someone has got to give something up. Otherwise, Pinheiro is going to miss out on getting through to the next round.
Yeah, Marco Pinheiro, as with anybody that finishes outside of the top 6 positions in this race, are more than welcome to come back again, have another qualifying session over the course of the coming week, and take part in our second race next Sunday. So there's no limit to the amount of times, as we said at the top of the show, you can get involved in this competition. So again, call to action for you folks out there. Come and get involved. There's nothing stopping you. It's a great experience with a fantastic promise at the end of it. But humans are inevitably lazy, and Pinheiro's not going to want to go through the whole process again for another week, take the risk of not qualifying, take the risk of having a bad race. He can taste that qualifying position. He can see the Ferrari ahead of him. He's less than a car length behind, attacking Alcamo. So he needs to give everything he's got and a little bit more on top in this next 5 minutes and 11 seconds, just to add to a little bit of the confusion. Torben Pesch, remember, he's the chap that qualified in second place in this race, is running in fifth and starting to act as a little bit of a blocker in the bottle as Alcamo runs a little bit wide through Brussels. Nothing too dramatic. He's got enough leeway from the car behind, fortunately, but in this situation, you're starting to think, actually, let these two squabble, let them fight over the same piece of tarmac, slow each other up, concentration going completely through the windshield ahead and not the mirrors behind, and there may be an opportunity, but Spa-Francorchamps, yeah, it's a 2-minute 21-second lap, and we've only got 4 minutes 27 left on the clock, so we are in quite literally the final throes of this event.
Yeah, I mean, Paul, you know this track inside out. It's obviously one of the most famous. It's a track that every driver wants to race at. Ferrari have a huge amount of success here in Formula One. They're the team that holds the record number of Formula One wins here, 18. I think Michael Schumacher took 5 of those for Ferrari. But where do you think the overtaking opportunity is going to be on this track in the last, well, we're down to the last lap and a half, really?
I think the best one, Nikki, is this exact spot that we're looking at now, through Blanchimont. Obviously not on Blanchimont, that would be ridiculous. But coming into the bus stop chicane that you're about to see now, you've got an opportunity, you've got the longest and fastest part of the circuit that you've just gone through. That's where the slipstream that we spoke about earlier is going to be at its strongest. If you can keep your car tucked up behind the car ahead through the fast Blanchimont into the bus stop chicane, if that doesn't work, here at La Source is also another great opportunity. In the original Grand Prix circuit layout, this is the first corner. Sports cars tend to start on the second grid that we're going over the top of now and have Eau Rouge that we're coming up to as the starting block. But La Source, another hard braking point, another opportunity where it's wide enough to get too wide. And thirdly, we've timed it beautifully, this question, Nikki, based on where the cars are on track. This is the third best overtaking opportunity. This is the Kemmel Straight, second longest straight on the circuit. Again, slipstream is your friend. There's a medium-sized braking event coming into Le Combe. The first corner, this one and this one, very difficult to get alongside. But if you're quicker, you put the driver in front, under pressure, you can make them compromise their line through the final part of Le Combe. Coming down into Bruxelles, you can get outside or inside of that corner, and that will put you on the inside for the corner with no name, which is the next turn on this track. So opportunities are plenty, but it's the same car. It's the same car, the same horsepower, the same acceleration, the same handling characteristics. What an incredibly difficult challenge, and that's why one make series racing is always a fabulous show to watch in the real world as well, and why it's a great test for our drivers, because we are looking for Ferrari for the best of the best of the best, and what way to find that and give them an equal opportunity and see who can deliver.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and again, I've got to remind ourselves of what is at stake here to be part of that Ferrari family. I mean, you could go to the office and be hanging out with Charles Leclerc and Sebastian Vettel. Not a bad way to spend your time. There is so much at stake here. So I'm sure they're feeling the tension at the moment with just 1 minute, 35 seconds to go till the end of this race.
Yeah, it's coming into the final moments now. So at the front of the field, we've not spoken at all about Jan Okosh. He's walking away with it.
He's walked away with it, hasn't he? Exactly. There's not much to say. He's done an absolutely brilliant job just pulling away from the start. He's just obviously had his head down, very focused, and just eased his way ahead.
Yep, absolutely fabulous performance. We're going to ride on board with Jarno now. His last lap was only 0.6 of a second away from his pole position. But we're heading up to Eau Rouge. This is arguably the most famous corner in the world. As a driver, you're looking at the sky when you get to Radion at the top. You're balancing the car. You've got to be careful not to use too much curb. The track and corner want to spit you off. But if you compromise your pace, you're losing lap time down the Kemmel Straight, which is where we are now. You're looking for your braking point into Le Combe. This is a technical corner. You're down into third gear. You want plenty of curb on both aspects of the corner. The curb will pull the car around. A little confidence lift to get the nose pointed in for the final part. Grab all the curb on the outside. Maximum acceleration down into Bruxelles. Bruxelles is one of those corners that's very awkward in this kind of car. You take a late apex. The car wants to slide, as we can see a little bit of opposite lock through Jarno. Corner with no name, very easy corner, very straightforward in this car. The only danger, you don't want to run too far onto that rumble strip. You may attract a drive-through penalty. This is Pouon, one of my favourite corners on the whole of the circuit. Here we're taking fourth gear, sometimes you may take third, and you want to get on the throttle as early as possible. Unwind the steering as early as you possibly can for a run down into the Fagnes chicane. Again, curbs sometimes, depending on your setup or what you use to bring the car around. Jarno's not doing on this occasion. He's keeping it very calm, very comfortable, in control of the car between the white lines. Now this is the fastest part of the track. This is the part of the circuit where you need to strip all the aerodynamics, strip all the downforce off the car. You want as much acceleration as possible, but if you change the setup to have a fast part of the lap here, you're compromised in the twisty bits that we've seen before. Into Blanchimont in a Ferrari 488 Challenge Evo, you have to lift off a little bit to keep it in the confines of the circuit. You're looking for the 100-metre marker on the left-hand side for the bus stop chicane. Hard on the brakes, down the gears, don't run too wide. There's a sausage curb on the outside that will spit you off. Bring the car through the second part of the chicane, keep to the right-hand side for the quickest, run to the line, cross the line, break the timing beam, take the checkered flag. We have a race winner in the first race of the Ferrari Hublot Esports Series, and it was a dominant performance, Mickey Shields.
Oh, absolutely phenomenal. I'm sure he's fist pumping the air now, if only we could see his face. But absolutely dominant performance there, you know, finishing with almost a 5-second lead. That is seriously impressive, and that puts him in a brilliant position. Those top 6 drivers now going through to the AM Series. They have secured themselves a spot in the AM Series where ultimately 24 drivers will compete, and then the top 12 of those go through to the finals. What a brilliant race. I love, though, the battle there between, we had Del Carmo in 6th and Marco Pinero in 7th. Obviously, Pinero just missing out there, which is such a shame, but hopefully he'll come back to show us a bit of a fight next weekend as well. What did you think of it all?
Yeah, absolutely. I really enjoyed the race. A lot of the drivers were being very sensible and very respectful. And for our race winner, that's a marker as well. It's a race victory. It's a ticket into the next round. But it's also laying a marker down for his rivals in future, saying, yes, I'm not somebody you mess about with. I want this. I'm hungry for this. And Nicky, I think that's a beautiful representation of what esport racing can be, and Ferrari should be very proud of what we've seen on circuit today. What a wonderful way to introduce an exceptional championship.
Exactly, making history. Jarmo Koch, the first ever Ferrari esports winner today, racing in Spa. What a race it was, fantastic to see. But let's take a look at the final classification and those 6 drivers that have secured their position to go through to the AM Series in October. Paul.
Yeah, so here are our 6 qualifiers: Koch, Blajar, Ranagale, Gilioli, Pesch, Demalco, have all made it through, have all done exactly what they needed to do to get through to the AM Series next month. We've got more qualification races to come though, Nicky, don't forget, so we've got more opportunities for drivers to get out there, set a lap time, get invited into future races and fight for that top finishing order, and I am fascinated to see who we're going to get coming through in rounds to come.
Exactly. Make sure you do save the date for our next knockout race. It will be on Sunday, the 13th of September at 8 p.m. Central European Time. Of course, me and Paul, we will be back on your screens to find out who will be the next 6 drivers that will go through to the AM Series.